All right, time for big game breakdown. Sports Bet, betting insight today, SBR picks, Pauly and Teddy, all the betting news you need to know in less than 20 minutes. Dress rehearsals here. Only one game, the preseason, though, and it's on Fox, national TV. Browns at home against the Eagles. Cleveland 3.5, 41.5 the total. Hugh Jackson 5-1 straight up last 6 preseason games. Brownies coming off a loss, didn't play well at home, got beat by the Bills. And Hugh Jackson, if you watched Hard Knocks, was not happy. Dumb penalties and a lot of penalties in that game against Buffalo. He wants to see a lot of Mayfield. Starter's supposed to play much of the first half, and no Wentz for the Eagles here. So interesting game to go over, Teddy, as you really look at this. And let's I don't know, see maybe Foles goes a quarter, something like that. You really have to like the quarterback rotation with Cleveland as opposed to Philadelphia when it's Callahan, Sudfeld, and maybe Hackenberg.
This is a true example of what a preseason point spread means. The Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. They're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl again this year. The Cleveland Browns went 0-16 last year. And they're lined as a 6-win team this year. And yet here we are in August, and it's week 3 of the preseason, the regular season walkthrough, where both teams are expected to play starters for a full half. And yet Cleveland, not just favored, not just -1 or some -1. They're favored by more than a field goal in this ballgame. It went down to 3 and then went right back up to 3.5, which speaks volumes, A, about the intensity of these two squads, expected intensity, and B, about the quarterback rotations for these two squads. You talked about the intensity. Look, the Eagles have 0 to prove in August. Cleveland has something to prove in August. They're 5-1 in the last 2 years in August under Hugh Jackson. And the one loss came by 2 points, a game they were right in, against Buffalo last week. It wasn't like the Browns had a no-show game or have had any no-show games here in preseason in recent years. You talk about Tyrod Taylor, who's expected to play the full first half for the Browns. But the key is the second half, where Baker Mayfield is expected to get ample time. Here's the tweet from Mary Kay Cabot. Browns Hugh Jackson said Baker Mayfield, quote, will play quite a bit versus the Eagles, wants to give him as much exposure as possible. Taylor's going to be the starter in week 1. That's pretty well determined at this stage, which means Taylor's going to be going with the starters for extended stretches in the first half, and Mayfield likely to get extended playing time after halftime. When you look at Philadelphia, well, the QB rotation not quite as pretty after Nick Foles leaves the game.
You're right about that, although Sudfeld has played well in the preseason. In 8 offensive drives, the Eagles' first-string offense has no points this summer, missing key starters, not putting together much of a game plan. No Wentz, no Peters, no Ajayi, no Jeffrey, no Aguilar. The first-team offense expected to play most of the first half and spent more time on the practice field than usual this week. Foles gets to start at quarterback. At least Peterson says he wants to see some consistency, as Foles struggled before he got injured and left the last game as well. So that's your preseason game coming up tonight. And Hugh Jackson, wants to see a little bit more of Mayfield. I think he's out of his mind with this experience. Like, he took the guy #1 overall for a reason. He's a big experience guy, but we should see a lot of Mayfield tonight.
Yeah, we really should. But it's worth noting, the starters are going for Philadelphia. But, oh, by the way, here are these 5 of the 11 starters on offense that aren't going to play tonight, including both starting wide receivers, key guys in the offensive line, and the starting quarterback. So, yeah, it's the Eagles starters, but, it's the Eagles starters with a grain of salt. And I'm certain that they're hoping to see a much better showing this week than they have in the first 2 weeks. This is the dress rehearsal game. But when it comes to intensity, I would anticipate, and the betting market anticipate, that Cleveland likely to bring it a little bit more. Worth noting, Philadelphia has been beaten up by the new tackling rule, that new tackling rule where you can't lead with the helmet. 5 penalties already for a player lowering his head to initiate contact. That's something the Eagles have worked a lot on in practice this week, avoiding those type of penalties. Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the games.